American frames of the 19th and early 20th centuries provide a unique view into the history of art and design. The frames at the Eli Wilner Company Gallery offer interesting insights into the often unrecognized artistry inherent in the marriage of art and frame. Most frames of this period are made by creating a wooden substrate, applying molded and cast ornament, and gilding the surface. This sketch by the artist Frederick Church gives us a glimpse into the creative collaboration between artist and frame maker. Church would sketch these designs and provide notes regarding specific details. He would then receive a sample like this from the frame maker, which also shows us typical construction of a 19th century frame. Notice how the frame maker has shown two possible choices for the decorative element at the inner edge. The creation of decorative elements from molds eliminated the time-consuming process of hand carving and provided frame makers with a nearly unlimited vocabulary of decoration. Aside from the basic design of a frame, the original gilded surface is of prime importance. As it ages, the gilding develops a special surface or patina. Gilding is an expensive process not only because gold is used, but because of the many labor-intensive steps required in traditional gilding techniques. Whether carved or cast ornament, the frame surface first receives several thin coats of gesso. Gesso is a mixture of calcium powder and rabbit skin glue. It is applied in liquid form, allowed to dry, and then sanded. Next, a layer of liquid clay called bowl is applied. When the bowl is dry, the surface is brushed with an alcohol and water mixture, and the leaf is applied. Gold leaf comes in books. Actual gold, it is pounded until it is approximately 1/250,000th of an inch thick. This makes it very difficult to handle and requires great skill and practice to avoid its breaking or folding over on itself and creating two layers of gold. Bowl comes in several different colors, and each color subtly affects the tonality of the final gilded surface. Different tonalities of gold are also created not only by the color of bowl used and the natural patination process, but also by the composition of the leaf itself. Many colors of gold leaf are available. Once the gold has been applied, the surface is rubbed or burnished with a special tool. The tip is made of agate stone, and there are many shapes made to correspond to the different surfaces which will require burnishing. Today, when uniting a period frame with a painting, sensitive alteration and restoration are required. The frame must be cut and rejoined, and often requires skilled hand carving. While this frame is easily cut at the corners, many frames with their elaborate decoration must be cut from the center of each section rather than the corners. Once reassembled, there may be casts made of damaged or missing ornament, and the necessary areas are gessoed with careful attention so as not to disturb unaffected areas of original gilded surface. New leaf is applied, and finally, the important process of toning is done, and the frame is ready to grace its painting. Without the proper frame, the artist loses 100%, said Edouard Manet, and in this portrait of Elizabeth Mason Turner by Daniel Huntington, we see a sensitive marriage of painting and frame. Note the complement of the lace in the sitter's shawl and the floral decoration on the frame. Indeed, not only do American frames complement their paintings, they chronicle the evolution of decorative trends from the emergence of a uniquely American identity in the early 1800s through to the early decades of the 20th century. Many early 19th century frames were actually looking glasses, such as this one, or frames for portraits, as having one's portrait painted was a sign of being cultured and successful. Early frames like this one often appeared on paintings done by itinerant artists, while more formal and ornate frames comprised of decoration and gilded surfaces are found on others. Painted surfaces like this one were made to imitate more expensive woods than the common pine that was usually used in frames of this type. As seen in this portrait by William Sidney Mount from the Parish Art Museum, most early American frame designs were quite simple. Others, such as this frame, were more elaborate and closely based on European designs and pattern books. Frames like this one from the 1840s draw upon earlier European styles. These strong corner elements and the sweeping forms echo French Louis XV style frames. Artist Thomas Cole had specific frame styles he favored. This painting and frame in the collection of the New York Historical Society illustrates the lacy floral pattern found on many of Cole's works. This basic style is seen frequently on his paintings, and in many similar interpretations, such as this frame. 1850s frames show the influence of the Rococo Revival, with its use of naturalistic elements and the unusual spotted cove decoration. This was created by applying a fine grit to the surface before gilding. 1860s frames often used neoclassical design elements like the fluted or combed cove seen here. This style is commonly found on Hudson River School paintings. Often, the only variation is in the style of leaf chosen to decorate the corners. Most 19th century frames were identified by paper labels, which have long since been lost. Finding a frame with its original label, particularly when it has an address such as this one, is an important tool in learning more about American frames. Many variations of fluted cove frames can be found, such as this one, in its original shadow box, with the delicate neoclassical Greek key and star design on the inner liner. 1870s frames, often on interiors, frequently employed this stylized anthemian leaf, or spade shape, seen here on the painting of the Hatch family by Eastman Johnson in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Another 1870s motif is this leafy cove decoration. The 1870s saw the beginning of many innovations in frame styles and designs. This frame on the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Aegean Sea by Frederick Church, which Church himself designed, is unique in its outer band of abstracted shapes and Moorish patterns on the panel, which Church had seen during his travels in the Near East. American expatriate James Mcneill Whistler designed simple, elegant frames like this one to enclose his subtle tonalist works. These frames were combinations of reeded moldings and gilding applied to an ungessoed oak surface, allowing for a much subtler effect than conventional elaborate frames of the period. No stranger to the nuances of color, Whistler would in fact choose specific compositions of gold leaf that were more green or red than the standard yellow gold. English writer Charles Eastlake emphasized the importance of simplicity in craftsmanship. Eastlake frames are most often characterized by Gothic-inspired incised corner decoration.